In Ois Vov, the Rebbe is going to continue now to explain that even the higher Madrege we talked about, the level of Bligvul, is really not the highest level that is mamshich into the world, into Gan Eden. Um, This will explain to us that Davke Tisha B'Av, what the Rebbe started off, the Rebbe is going to go now to the end of the Maimer, that Davke Tisha B'Av is a greater level of Gilui in the Kaima Sira Bashlemusa in the Tezvov, because over there it's after the Churban and the descent makes it even a higher, a greater Hamshoche. So even the Hamshoche that we're talking about, Melech Lisod Nevat, which is the level of Bligvul, and that is comes through the Avodah from Torah mitzvahs. We get that Hamshoche. That's not yet the ultimate Bligvul. That is still, the Rebbe says, Mitzad Teva. It's Bligvul relative to the Hamshocha from Atzilus than the normal Inyan of Eretz and the normal Inyan of Sodeh, but B'melech, you bring down the Melech into the Sodeh Nevad, but then there is still a higher Madrege than that. And that Madrege comes Dafke through a greater Yerida. And that's the Rebbe is going to bring out Dafke through the Tisha B'Av, through the Churban of Tisha B'Av, which is even beyond the Churban that is expected. It's Ayeko. Dafke that brings a higher Madrege, the Kaima Sida Bashlemusa, in a way of Beligvul, the true Beligvul, because the Beligvul that we were talking up till now is still Shaykhs to Ishtalshlus, and it's still considered relative to the real Beligvul, also part of Ishtalshlus. As we'll see, as the Rebbe develops this thought throughout the next few Oishers. Vov. So he continues in the Maimer, Sheyesh Oid, Sheyesh Oid Pirush Bezoyar. There is another interpretation of the Zoyar in the Bamelach Lasod Nevad, in the meaning that the Melech Lasod Nevad. Up till now, we were teaching it Limal Yusa. This is an advantage. That how do you get the Melech down to this Soda when it's Nevad? Here we're going to learn it's actually talking about you enslave Malchus to Nevat, to the field of the Umazah. Peter Bezer Melech Soda Nevat Shuligri Usa, that is to worse. The Soda who Soda the Umazah. Soda is talking about the field of the other side. And you're bringing down the Malchus into the field. So the Lumas that we see, the Torah discusses over there, Kibasoda Metzo, that he found her in the Soda, and therefore she screamed and nobody answered her, and that's why it's not her fault, as the pasuk discusses over there in Kiseitze in Perikov Beis. But that's Lumazeh. That's when he bad things were done. That's Lumazeh. So what's the meaning of Melech Lisoda? That's the Taich of Soda Lumazeh. What is the meaning of Melech Lisoda Nevadu? What is the meaning? Shahamalchus de Kedusha Nevedes Lisoda Lumazeh. That the Melech, which is Malchus of Kedusha, becomes enslaved, works for the Sodad Lumazeh. Why does the Rebbe bring down the negative Pirush after bringing down the Pirush Lemal Yusa? Is to tell you that only after the Pirush Ligriusa, after the negative interpretation, the powerful positive interpretation is much stronger. The Yeshleimer, we can say, this interpretation in Melech L'Soda Nevad. Comes after and is a follow-up. Lahapirush the Melech L'Soda Nevad U'Lemal Yusa to the interpretation that a Melech L'Soda Nevad is to the advantage who. Why does it come? It follows. Why is there such an idea that Melech L'Soda Nevad, that it's to its detriment, that it's worse, so that the Melech L'Soda Nevad that comes down to the Soda that was Nevad L'Mal Yusa, which is Hamshalachas Melech Ilo, the bringing down the supreme Melech, which is Keser, that it should be on the higher level. And the Rebbe says it's not just a higher level, but it's like uncomparably higher. We can say the advantage that was added to drawing down the Keser al Yidei Hayirida through this descent, lemelech lesoda never legroi, so that the melech is enslaved to the soda umazeh. Legreusa legabe ham shocha shekoidim hayirida. If you measure that elevation, what happens to Damshocha and Keser relative to Damshocha that was before the Yerida, it's an addition which is uncomparable. To such an extent is it greater that when you measure it relative to the Hamshocha that comes after the descent, that is so a high level. The previous Hamshocha that was before the descent, that would even be in the order of Hishtalshlus, and it's not even higher than Hishtalshlus. And this is also explained to us what our sages of blessed memory said, that refer references to Nebuchadnezzar, that the Aryeh came to Mazel Aryeh. That's on the constellation of Aryeh, which is the month of Av. And he destroyed Ariel, that's the Beis HaMikdash. Menas, that is on the condition Sheyova Aryeh, which is the Eberster. The line, this is a reference to the Aryeh, the Mazel Aryeh, V'yivna Ariel. So you should go ahead and build the Ariel. So the purpose and the point of Nebuchadnezzar destroying the Beis HaMikdash is so that the Eberster should build the Beis HaMikdash. And it's known, the Yove Aryeh, who are we talking about? Yove Aryeh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ksiv Bey, with regards to Hashem, where do we find the reference of Aryeh? Aryeh Shoag Milayira. When the lion roars, who is not afraid, is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is who is Galus HaKeser Shalamaylo Meishtalshlus. So that is the revelation of Keser, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Yove Aryeh, this Keser Mamshech Shalamaylo Meishtalshlus. From beyond the Shtalshlus. So from this we can see that in order it should be the Yove Aryeh is Galus HaKeser Shalamayla Meishtalshlus, revealing of the Keser which is higher than Shtalshlus. So first we needed to have the Aryeh going up and destroying Aryeh in order to get to the highest level. But why? But we already had, we didn't need the Beis HaMikdash to be Chorev to get the higher level of the building of Beis HaMikdash. We already had, if it's all that we're getting is the level of the Melech L'Soda Nevad L'Mal Yusa, that was already before. It was even before the Churban Beis HaMikdash. So why did we need Yovei Ariel to destroy in order to bring the level of Keser when it was already before the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash? So move on. So we understand from this that the Keser that we bring down that was before the Churban. When you compare it to the Hamshacha which comes after the descent, the Bechlal say that Ishtalshlus, that's considered to be in the Ishtalshlus, not higher than Ishtalshlus. Why is that? Why is it that in order to get the higher level from real Ishtalshlus, needs to come dafke through the Churban Beis Hamikdash? The Rebbe explains that the Kav of Tzadikim can only go that far. You need the avodah of tshuva mimata l'mayla. Yeshloimer abir bazeh al pi hayidua. So we can say that the explanation, based on what we know, the avodas hatzadikim, that the service, the work of the tzadikim, koilel gam hamshocha shel yidei havodah, which includes not just tzadikim without service, but work, through work of the tzaddikim, it comes in a straight line, from above to below. What that means is, that the revelation that shines in this world through the work of the tzaddikim, it's mainly because of above. In order there should be a refinement and elevation also in the mata by itself, that is mainly done through the work of teshuva. The ability to refine the bottom should only reaches but if you want the mata to be refined, it needs tshuva that comes milmata. Based on this, we understand this that the hamshochas hakeser melech melech lisodaneva the melech that was before the descent in golus. Relative to the Hamshocha that comes after the descent in Golus, that's considered part of Hishtalshlus, not higher than Hishtalshlus. The level of the Keser, Melech Elod, that we're mamshich before we go through Golus is part of Hishtalshlus. Ki amiti so inyan de l'maylo mi Hishtalshlus, because the true level of higher than Ishtalshlus, hu she'ein boy ha'hagbola v'ha'chiluk the milo mata, that it doesn't have the limitation and there's no distinction of top and bottom. But the kivon sha'avoder shebizman habayisi, but since that's not possible before the Churban, because during the avodah bizman habayis, he b'derech klal avodas hatzadikim, that's generally speaking the service of tzadikim. That what is drawn down through this avodah tzadikim, he became mitzad milmayla. It's mainly from, it comes from above, which means the gam la'achar hamshocha yesh chiluk ben hamayla lamata. That even after the hamshocha there is a distinction between mayla and mata, because it's the mayla that is mamshich, the higher level, the level of melech Elah. But nimtza, it turns out shamshocha zui b'chal ishtalshlus. So that hamshocha is also going to be part of the ishtalshlus that comes from the avodas tzadikim, not through the avodas tshuva. Now we have to say it's not mamish ishtalshlus, because Atzilus in the Olam, that's Ishtalshlus, but here we're talking about Melech, the level of Kesed. Elo Shebeh B'chinas the Ishtalshlus Gufa, within Ishtalshlus itself, Hahamshocha shal yidei ha'avoida the Torah mitzvahs. What do we draw down through the avodah of Torah mitzvahs? Nevad. So the nevad he made a bligvul that comes from the light of bligvul, shu b'chol mokem b'shove, which comes everywhere the same. Uh, and that's why we have that light, as the Rebbe said in the earlier ois, that it comes down even Mizman HaGolos. Through the Avoida, which gave us the extra light of the Bligvul, the higher level, Yesh Negam Mizman HaGolos. That also exists in the Golos, Kinal, Kiniskelil, Sivhei, as we said in Sivhei. Avol, Afal became, but yet. So while we do have the Oida Bligvul, that gets nimshach, that comes down in the Beis Hamikdash through the Avodah, which gives us it also in the time of Golus, because it's not limited by place and it comes everywhere. Still, why is the oil everywhere? It has to do with Lamailo, that the oil is Ein Sof. So how do we feel this light in the world? So the world needs to be in such a way that he has some connection to the oil. So being everywhere, but it's still, you need to have a connection to that light in order to get to it. Since in the time of Golus, there's a descent in the world, that's why in the time of Golus, we don't have that Gilu in the world, because we still need to have a shaykhs to be able to feel that oil. And the descent in the world is that we don't feel that oil. But by Yidei, Havayda Shebizman HaGolus, but added to that, beyond the Avayda of the Bizman Beis Hamikdash, when you add the Avayda Bizman HaGolus, Sheibederach Klal Avayda Satshuva, which generally speaking, that is the Avayda Satshuva. It comes from a place that there is no difference between Milo and Mata, top and bottom. The true idea that is higher than Ishtalshalus. When you bring down this Hamshocha through Tshuva, becomes a refinement and elevation in the Mata itself. It doesn't have to reach a level so that he can get the shine of the Ein Sof, but it comes in the Mata itself. The Rebbe explains it now in Zayin, why dafke through tshuva you could actually tap into the higher level. Zayin, yes, we can explain this even deeper. As what's explained elsewhere, that revelation that extends to the world through the service of tzaddikim. Since the intent of the creation from the beginning was since the tzaddikim and all Yidden are tzaddikim, that they, when they serve Hashem, they add a revelation of godliness in the world. As we see, who did Hashem consult to create the world? The souls of tzaddikim, because the tzaddikim, they bring Gilul because of the world. Therefore, the revelation that extends to the world through the service work of the tzaddikim, even the revelation which comes higher than Ishtalshlus, which koilel that would include when we say higher than Hishtalshlus, We said the Keser Elyon, the Keser, Melech, the Sod and Nevad, all the Koil Gamzeh, which would also include that through the service of Torah mitzvahs, Nimshach Eir Chodosh, it extends and brings down a new light that has not shined even before the Tzimtzum, when there was the Mamale Mokam Acholol, but it was not the oil that were mamshich through the Avedis HaTzadikim is higher. It's still Einze Chidush Amiti. That's not a true novelty. That's not something really new. As opposed to when the person serves through tshuva, as opposed to Avedis Tzadikim. The Avedis Tshuva, when the person sinned, he blemished, and he has went off the road, he passed over the road, which this was contrary, opposite of the intent of the creation of the man. The Eivishter created the person, made him straight. So when the person makes the mistake, and then he goes and corrects it to tshuva, that makes about a novelty, also which with the intent of creation, as it is in the level who he consulted. Because when Hashem consulted, and the intent of the Bria was tzaddik, was not to make mistakes and bring back. But here you're bringing out a new thing that not tzaddik, not yosher, not the right way. And then you do teshuva, you're misakin. So this is a novelty beyond what the intention of the Bria was. You bring in a chiddush. How can you bring in a chiddush if this was not the intent of the creation? How would this, the fact that the person has the power to accomplish this novelty, because the root of the souls is in Asmus, which is higher than the root of the neshamas in the matter of who did he consult. The matter who he consulted, that's the level of tzaddikim. But the level that the chiddush, alidei tshuva, is the root of the neshamas in atzmus. Agam shaha melacha hi l'mayla mikol hagiluyim. Even though when Hashem consulted, so this consultation is higher than any of the revelations. Even from the revelation that he wants kindness, so that's a level from where world creates because of Hashem's kindness. Still, we're saying he has to consult. Because he's consulting, he's trying to figure out should there be chafetz ches or not. That means it's higher. So that means that even in the highest level of b'min nimlach, and still mikomokoim. And yet, even though this is a hamlacha in the highest levels, higher than chafetz chesed, but this consultation is all with regards to the revelation. Im yiyah giluyim im lav. Shall there be revelations or not? But the shoyrish haneshamas hu ba'atzmus. The root of the neshamas is in atzmus, and that's why it's even comes from a higher level through the level of tshuva. And this is the idea that the wholesomeness of the world that is going to be in the future to come is going to be ashleimus beyond, because it comes after the churban, after the golus. Eila toldes peretz. We say, talking about the birth of the Melech HaMashiach. So it says in the Rus, until King David comes, so it says Eila Toldos Peretz. So that Toldos is Moli. It has the Vav in there, which means full. So that Toldos Peretz till this mole tianaila yoser mahashlemus shoysa b'tchilas habriya, from the shlemus that was in existence when the creation, that would be the minimlach. It'll be even from a higher place, which Ela told us Hashemayim ba'oretz bihiborom, which is also Tildus Mole. So over there you had Tildus Mole, but it's going to be higher than that, which means Olam al Miluya Nivra. The world Lechatchila was created full, complete, wholesome, so it's a full. But the Tildus Peretz is going to be higher. Shashleim as the Olam Kamoy Shahu Mitzad Habriya, the wholesomeness as it is from creation, Koilil, which when we say Mitzad Habriya, Gam Hashlemus, Shemitzad Kavonis Habriya, also the wholesomeness, the intention of creation, which is saying the Minimlach, the actual creation, and Minimlach, told this Hashamayim, and the Minimlach, that's still in a measure and a limitation. Ashlemus the Olam Shatia Losid Love, but the wholesomeness of the world that is going to be in the future to come through the work of Tshuva. Because the revelations that come in the future to come, mainly they come through Avedis Tshuva. Be higher than Didav Agbola. So the Eila told this Peretz for the future will be higher than Tilda Shemayim Ba'oretz. Eila told this Peretz. The Inyan Peretz, why do we call him Peretz? Shenikra came, as the pasuk says, "Al Shem Paratzta Olecha Peretz." You burst out. A bursting when he came out before his brother Zorach, even though Zorach got stuck out the hand first, but he break through and he came out first. That means that he breaks through all the measures and all the limitations. Koilo also, that would include all measures, also the Mdida v'Hagbola shemitzat kavonas habriya, the measure and limitation that are the intent of creation, Kamoishi b'mechinas hamlocha is in the level of consultation, how to create the world. That breaks through even that. Hainu shamayim chadoshim be'eretz chadosha. That's new creation. There is kavonas habriya. This is chadoshim be'eretz chadosha, which is nichlo through Avedis Tshuva in Atzvus. So now, based on these different stages that we have talked about, the level of the way it was created and the way we get the level of the extra through the Avodah Melech, Nevat, Basoda, and then the way that is after the Churban, the various different, we'll also understand the different stages in the Kaima Sira Ba'ashla Musa during the Yom Tovim and during Yom Kippur, in the White Tisha B'Av, it's the highest of the levels. Ches. Based on this, we can explain the different levels. That is the fill and the full moon, the complete moon, the Leil Sifalas. The Milu Yushlemus Halavona Shebetezvav the Kol Chodesh, the fill and the wholesome of the Levana, which every month of has, which is on the 15th day, Kivon Shihim Mitzad Teva, since that is based on nature, that Hashem has made, planted, formed inside the creation. It's not directly connected to the service of a Yid. So that's generally is Amshocha, which comes according to the order of Ishtalshus. So, and the fact that on the 15th of the month, the shine also lights in the bottom half of the Levana, who mitzad mailas yoim hatezvov, that is because of the advantages, the 15th day, shaboy, Gam chatzi chelik hatachtin hu dugmas chatzi chelik elyon. On the 15th day, the bottom part is similar to the upper part. That's Tezvov every month. Shleimus halavana shebetezvav benisim betezvav betishrei. And the wholesome of the luminous of the Levana, which on the 15th of Nisan and the 15th of Tishrei, Kivon shezeh koshur gam im avodas ha'odom, since that is also tied to the service of the person, because it's a Yom Tov, Nisan and Tishrei. The said earlier that Nisan, the Yitzias Mitzrayim, but he said it was Kikot Noilodami and Tezva B'Tishrei after Yom Kippur, but it's connected with Avodas Odom, he Bechlolus Hamshocha Shalomayla Meishtalshus. Generally, that's higher than Ishtalshus. Shalochein, and therefore Tezva B'Nisan, Tezva B'Tishrei, the 15th of Nisan, 15th of Tishrei, Hem Yom B'Tovim. That makes them Yom B'Tovim. The Inyan Yom Tov Hu Hamshochas Oir Shalomayla Meishtalshus. The idea, what makes it Yom Tov a good day, is because you bring down draw down a light which is higher than Ishtalshus. But Ushleim was Halavana B'Tezvav B'Ov, the wholesomeness of the Levana Tezvav B'Ov, Shekshurim Avedus HaTshuva. That is tied to Avedus HaTshuva. Ha'aliyah Shelachrei HaYerida de Tisha B'Av. That's the elevation that comes after the descent of Tisha B'Av. Who? This that also the bottom half of the Levana is shines. It's not just because the Eid is Ein Sof. That's why he can shine also below. It's for the elevation that in Malchus itself. As explained in the Maimer, the Betezvov B'Ov Meir B'Malchus B'Bchinas Atik. That on Tu B'Ov, in Malchus, you get the level of Atik. Not just Keser, but the level of Atik. Primis HaKeser. The Yeshleimar, Shehu Agilui the Milas V'Shoydesh HaMalchus Atzma. That reveals the advantage and the root of Malchus itself. This is the connection from Chamisha Osubov to Yom Kippurim. Kigam b'Yom Kippurim hu aliyas hamalchus b'Pnimis Atik. But also Yom Kippur, Malchus goes up to Pnimis Atik. Kivur b'Maimer, as explained in the Maimer. Oistas b'Yesh Loimar, we can say this Shayom Tov the Chamisha Osubov hu Naila Yoser Gam b'Yom Kippur. Why is Chamisha Osir Ba'ov, the Yom Tov, higher also than Yom Kippur? After Gam Yom Kippurim Avodas HaTshuva, also Yom Kippur is the Avodah HaTshuva. The whole thing we're saying after the Churban is because of Avodas HaTshuva, but Yom Kippur is also Avodah HaTshuva. Hu Kimizeh Gufa. The fact itself, Torah Kova Yom Slicha V'Kapora B'Chol Shana B'Shana. Torah set up a day of forgiving atonement every year. Move on. So it's understood Shayidrida Lidvorim Abilti Ritsuim Shalachareo Bo Hali the Yom Kippurim. So this descent to the undesirables, which is followed by the elevation of Kippur, it's still in a way that there is room for this creation. This is a phenomenon that every year you have Yom Kippur. The fact that the Torah set up is tackle by Raisu Bar Alma, because the Shevish that looked in the Torah and created the world, Yom Slicha V'Kapora Yonim Bilti Ritzuimu, a day of atonement and forgiveness for undesirable matters, who Kimitzad Goydel Ha'ilu Shebit Shuva, because there is such a great elevation of tshuva. The b'mokim shebal tshuva ain't tzaddikim gurim yichel lamed by that in the place of bal tshuva. The tzaddikim can't stand there, so it's so great. Yesh mokim lozeh. So then there is room for this for tshuva. Gam mitzad kavanas habriya k'meshinim shcha begila. Also because of the intent of creation, as it comes out begila. B'hadarga de b'nimlach, in the level of b'nimlach. So even in B'nimlach, even though mostly it's Avodas HaTzadikim, it also gives place for the Avodas HaTshuva, which is an advantage over the Avodas HaTzadikim to set up Yom Kippur once a year. But mainly Nimlach is Avodas HaTzadikim, Nimlach Nishmasem Shel Tzadikim, but still there is some room for the Avodas HaTshuva as well. The Tisha B'Av as opposed to the descent of Tisha B'Av. Churban Beis Hamikdash v'Hagolus, the destruction of Beis Hamikdash and the Golus, Hiridu Kazush Einlus and Esinas Moker. It's such a descent that has really no place, not even in the level of Teshuva of Yom Kippurim. As understood also from the Megillas Eicha, the Zesh Omer Eicha, how? B'Loshen Temiyahu, in a surprise, is Lefishigam B'Tzado Ilu Shebet even because for the elevation of Tshuva, Ein Mokim L'Rida Kazu, is still, there's no place for such a descent. The fact that it did actually have such a descent, so that there should be even a greater aliyah, so that the Ari went down to destroy it, to build Ariel, so Ari to come, Hurak. It's only the true intent as it's an asmus. That through the work of a Yid Yichidush Ba'briya, there should be a novelty, a new creation, the Briya, which is more than Nimlach. Nimlach didn't have that. Shemaim Chadosha, Boretz Chadosha. New Shemaim, new Oretz from the level of Tshuva. Hayom Tov the Chamish also Ba'ov, Hunayli Yisr Gam Yom Kippurim. And that's why it's even higher than Yom Kippur, the Yom Tov of Chamish Asher B'Av. So, Gam Mashasiyim B'Choysim B'Sechta Tainis, the end, the conclusion of the tractate Tainis, Uloy Ho Yom Tovim L'Yisrael Chamish Asher B'Av. The Yidden had not such Yom Tov like the 15th of Av. Kizeu Habiyur the Chol HaTainis, because this is actually explains all the fasting. Why? The fact that we have undesirable matters that you have to fast in them. Until the extent fasting so severe matters that took place on the 17th of Tammuz Tisha B'Av. That is because of the elevation that follows the descent, which is a Yom Tov the Chamish Asar B'Av, special Yom Tov the Chamish Asar B'Av. Shu Yom Simchas Libay D'Hakodesh Baruch Hu. That is the day of rejoicing of his heart. Melech Shalom Shalom Melech Shloima the Simchas Libay D'Hakodesh Baruch Hu Zabinyan Beis Hamikdash Sheivon B'Meirav Yameinu, the building of the Beis Hamikdash, which will be built quickly in our days. B'Yirotz. Through our work and our actions, not to become impacted by all of the struggles and the tests, which includes also those tests, such a that based on any consideration and calculation, even for the advantage which is in the service of the nisyonis, we have no explanation. They will bring close and hasten even more the future redemption through our righteous Mashiach. He will fight, wage the war of Hashem, and he'll be victorious. Most of these wars don't really have room and not logical. Is not even those who are the warriors. So that's why it's with a lot of force. And yet, so those who are fighting against Hashem without any logic still, and they fight it with force because it's not based on any reason, still Mashiach will be victorious. He'll build the base of Mikdash in its place. He gather all those that were pushed away of the including that he will gather all parts of the Kedusha. And also literally those who are pushed away. Kibbutz Goliath to gather in the exile, because of Mamish, very soon, with the true and the complete redemption, through our righteous Mashiach.